You're now live. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, hi everybody. Hey
Hi.
Morgan. Hi
Hi,
everyone.
Lucy.
So, welcome to this live session.
Mhm.
This is Lucy and Morgan here, and we hope that you're all doing really, really well. We wanted to pop into the community and share some information with you and some resources with you about this Venus retrograde cycle that we are in at the moment. So we have a couple of goodies that we want to share with you, and we also just want to check in and share some information about what the Venus retrograde cycle actually is and how you can reconnect to your values during this cycle. So, Venus retrograde this year that we're in, 2020, is occurring between the dates of May the 13th and June 25th. And it is taking place in the mutable sign of Gemini. So, for those of you who are into astrology and you want to dive a bit deeper into the retrograde cycle, Venus will be traveling retrograde between the angles of 21 degrees of Gemini through to 5 degrees of Gemini. Okay, so you can look at your own chart and have a look at where those degrees fall to see what house is going to be impacted during this cycle. So, if you have any personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, of course, Jupiter, any angles in your astrology chart that fall between these degrees of Gemini, then you'll be feeling this Venus retrograde in a particularly intense way. Also, because Gemini is a mutable sign, if you have anything in your chart in the same degree span of the other mutable signs, being Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo, then you'll be feeling this retrograde in an especially intense way too. So, a bit of information about what retrograde is. In astrology, when we talk about a planet going retrograde, we talk about it appearing to move backwards in the sky. Okay. And in terms of how we make that practical, we like to look at retrogrades as an invitation to slow down, to pause, and to take a closer look at the themes of what's coming up for us during this time. So, in the case of Venus going retrograde, the themes that we're looking at, that we're reviewing, include love, of course, romance, beauty, our finances, creativity, and harmony. So the planet Venus goes retrograde every 18 months or so. So every 18 months will come around and Venus will shift into this similar retrograde pattern. And she takes a full 8 years to travel around the entire 12 signs of the zodiac. Okay. So right now, Venus is retrograde in the sign of Gemini, as we were saying, which is all about communication. So, Gemini is all about how we articulate our ideas and we share information, ideas, concepts, inspiration with one another. So, an interesting exercise that you can do if you want to dive deeper into this study is the last time that Venus was retrograde in these exact same degrees of Gemini was in May, June, around the same dates in May and June of 2012. Okay, 8 years ago in 2012. So we may find that at the moment we are revisiting the same themes of that time this time round. So, a fun time traveling exercise that you can do is to cast your mind back to around May, June of 2012 to what was happening in your life at that time back then. What sort of themes were coming up for you? And then what needs to be forgiven and cleared from that time? So one thing that we really wanted to share with you is both Morgan and I believe very strongly here at the Replenishing Life Project that cosmic retrogrades with any of the planets are really an opportunity to pause and to review what we truly value in our lives. So Venus retrograde in particular is a brilliant time to tune into your heart. And if you want a meditation that can help you to do that, then please feel free to revisit the Heart Coherence that we did in the Replenishing Life Project group a couple of weeks ago. It's here in the group for you. It's also available for free on YouTube. It's a beautiful Heart Coherence meditation. So tune into your heart and to realign with your core values. So what we wanted to do today, as well as telling you about the Venus retrograde that we're in, is we also wanted to share a selection of our favorite books that have helped us along the way to realign with our core values. So that's it. That's an introduction from me.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Lucy. I was thinking back to 2012. I'll have to take a few moments to think more about that time in my life, because at the moment I can't really remember 2012. What happened in that year?
It was a
So
long
I'll have
time
to
ago.
yeah, I'll have to take some time to contemplate. And as you were talking, I realized in my natal chart, my Venus is in Gemini. So it's, yeah, that's interesting. Where's Venus in your natal chart?
Venus for me is in Taurus. So yeah, the for you, with the Venus being in Gemini, that's a total what you would call a Venus return. So
Oh,
that's pretty
cool.
cool. There's
Yeah.
there's a full culmination there of themes.
And as I understand, Gemini is like a messenger and a teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah, many things, but okay,
very cool.
interesting. I also heard this lovely quote by Heidi Rose Robbins about Venus, and she said, "Venus is to the earth as the soul is to the personality." I really love that.
Beautiful.
And as you mentioned, Venus is all about beauty and our values and love and what we offer in the spirit of loving. And so, I always like to say, pay attention to your dreams.
Yes.
There may be some messages coming through your dreams, especially at this time. If you're a person that, dreams a lot, or maybe only has occasional dreams, pay attention to those dreams and write them down, because there are some messages within those, within that. So yes, and even though this video is about this specific Venus retrograde, as Lucy mentioned, it happens every 18 months, and we do have many retrogrades happening at the moment. So
Yes.
all these planets that are in retrograde are giving us the opportunity to review and really look into what they represent and what's going on in your life. So so okay, well, let's start with, do you want to share the first book that you'd like to that you have
Sure.
here?
Sure. So the first one that I want to share with you guys is this is a book that has really helped me for many years, actually, and it's one that I continue to revisit whenever I feel like I am feeling afraid to sort of step out and be myself, to show up in an authentic and vulnerable way. I return to this book. So it's, I'm sure many of you know it. It's called Daring Greatly. Oh, there's my light. It's going to be too bright. Daring Greatly by Dr. Brene Brown. How the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And, as you can probably see, it's full of little bookmarks. It's one that I return to again and again. And it really helps me to return to that sense of value and to value vulnerability as a strength.
Nice.
So that's my first book that I wanted to share with you.
I love
How
that
about you?
book. I love that book so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a great book. For me, So the first book I want to share is The Four Agreements,
Yes.
Toltec Wisdom book by Don Miguel Ruiz. Whoops.
Brilliant.
So I actually was gifted this book in my early 20s, and I was kind of going through a little bit of a rough patch. And just the simplicity of each agreement was so profound and illuminating, and it really just helped to anchor me, actually, and to help me get grounded. And so I just want to share what the four agreements are, and it goes in more in depth in the book, obviously. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. So it's all about speaking with integrity and saying only what you mean, and using the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. And this is such a great review and reminder for everyone. The importance of our words and the power and the vibration of our words. Even what we speak to ourselves, not only just others, but to ourselves as well. So the second agreement is don't take anything personally. And this one, personally, this is one that
it's a tough one.
I struggle with. Yeah,
same. The one that I'm continually working on.
Yeah, exactly. So it says nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. And so it's really, to me, it's just about allowing others to have their, thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, process, and, and trying my best to stay neutral and to not get caught up in the drama, for example. If it's not, it's everybody has to work through their own things and their own journey. So that's how I see it. And the third one is don't make assumptions. So this is all about communicating as clearly as you can to avoid any misunderstandings. So, and expressing what you really want. So that's just all about clear communication. Perfect for this Gemini.
Perfect. I was just thinking that.
Gemini. Yeah. And then the last one is always do your best. So when you do your best under any circumstance, so this can help us to sort of avoid that any self-judgment or regret, because our best can change from moment to moment. So it's when we're really doing our best in the moment, then that's what we can give. That's all we can offer.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing those, and for sharing that book as well. I think one of the most powerful books that I've ever read, and I also continue to refer back to, and I'm continuing to work on the Four Agreements. As you were saying, Morgan, with this Venus in retrograde in Gemini, the way that we talk to ourselves, not just to others, but to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves is coming up for review. That is, it's so important, it's so powerful to look at that. And oftentimes a self-sabotaging belief that comes through is a belief that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. This is a common belief with a lot of us. And one of those, one of the beautiful ways to reframe that is to come from a place that says, I do my best and my best is good enough. And that's one of the Four Agreements in practice. It's really beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And how about you? What's your second book?
Cool. So my second book is one that I actually recommend to all of my clients. It is a workbook that I absolutely cherish, and it's by Desmond and Umpo Tutu, and it's called The Book of Forgiving. Okay. It's the fourfold path for healing ourselves and our world. So this book was groundbreaking for me. I had a lot of forgiveness work that I wanted to work through, wanted to do when I was healing my burnout.
Mm.
And this book really helped me to not only work on self forgiveness, but to work on forgiving others as well, and bringing a lot more compassion and kindness and tenderness to
Mm.
my approach, and to how I approached working with the wounded parts of me. Um, and it's just exquisitely written. It's broken up into meditations,
Mhm.
exercises, and rituals to help you through the process. And as they say here on the back of the book, each of us has a deep need to forgive, but it sometimes feels
Mm.
like an impossible task. In the Book of Forgiving, Desmond and
Mm.
Umpotutu guide you on a fourfold path towards forgiveness away from past pain. It's beautiful. So I highly, highly
Mm.
recommend that. It's the Book of Forgiving, just allowing us, or allowing all of us, to really return to that purity of heart.
Mm.
So I
I love
recommend
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Um, my next book that I'd like to share is maybe one that you have read. A lot of people have read this. It's been around for a while. Uh, Anatomy of the
Yay.
Spirit, The Seven
Amazing.
Stages of Power and Healing by Carolyn Meese. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. And yeah, this was I read this as a teenager, um, when I was first kind of waking up to my spirituality, and that the concept of that there was more out there. And um, yeah, so this is
Mm,
a very special book to me. And so it does, goes through at this point there was 7 chakras. Now
mhm,
she talks about 10 or 12 chakras.
mm,
um, but these are it's such a good review to see each chakra and what it represents.
mm,
And what I wanted to read is just a little passage
mm,
of oh yeah, and I wanted to say it does go through. There are questions as well for self-examination. So um, it's interesting to go back and answer those questions and
mm,
kind of see how things have shifted and changed in the last 8 years since the last Venus retrograde. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so the part that sort of jumped out at me that I would like to share is about the third chakra, and the third
Mm,
chakra is all about personal power. So I'll read this part. The first chakra has an external center of gravity and is always located within a group mind. The second chakra, too, has an external gravitational center, but focuses on relationships and their effects on us. In the third chakra, however, the gravitational center is partly internalized, as our focus shifts from how we relate to people around us to how we relate to and understand ourselves. The sacred truth of the third chakra is to honor oneself.
mm,
The energies that come together in this chakra have but one spiritual goal: to help us mature in our self understanding, the relationship we have with ourselves, and how we stand on our own and take care of ourselves. The spiritual quality inherent in the third chakra compels us to create an identity apart from our tribal self. And I feel this is important to review at this time because there is so much going on in the world, and um, it's very important to know what our own personal power looks like and what it feels like, and how we can connect to that
mm.
to help guide us along in our journey.
Very
Uh,
cool.
yeah,
Very cool. Thank you for
mm,
sharing that. It's an incredible book.
it is.
Highly,
Yeah.
highly recommended. So I just want to give a quick shout out to people who are joining us live on Facebook. We've got Tanya who's watching live with us. Hey,
Ah.
Tanya. And if I just double check again, Karen. Hey, Karen. So Tanya and Karen are joining us live. If anybody's joining us live, please feel free to say hi in the comments. And obviously, if you're joining us live on Catch Up, you're welcome to comment as well. Thank you. That's amazing. So on to, this is my last book that I want to share with you. This this book really helped me to reconnect to my high sensitivity. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I used to see that as a burden. Um, and having read this book, I really, really was able to embrace high sensitivity as a gift. And so I really, again, I recommend it to all my clients. Most of the people who I work with happen to be highly sensitive as well. So it's written by Dr. Elaine Aron, and it's called The Highly Sensitive Person: How to Thrive When the World Overwhelms You. And it's beautifully written, and it gives us a really fresh perspective and a sigh of relief. That's the best way of describing it. So anybody who is is finding the world a little overwhelming at the moment, which I think a lot of us in some ways have experienced some of that, this book is a good one to refer to. So I highly recommend that one.
Beautiful. Okay, so I hope everyone enjoyed and maybe found something to read
Yeah.
in our book recommendations. And yeah, so we invite you during this time to really to do some journaling, contemplation, and to do our best to, as one of the 4 agreements says, to not take things personally. So to really focus inward and focus on ourselves and our internal guidance and our values, our personal values. We don't all share the same values, and that's what makes the world a beautiful place. We have a lot of difference of opinions and personalities and influences. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this session. We will send a follow-up email this weekend. Again, if you wish, check out the Heart Coherence meditation. We'll post a link to that in the comments below once we finish the session. And I'm just seeing, I can't see who it is in our, I think it's Tanya who's left us a comment about being highly sensitive. Give me 1 second. Yes, Tanya says, yes, I'm highly sensitive too. I think I have that book on my bookshelf, but not read it. I might dig it out. Yay, go for it.
Oh, great. Great.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. And yes,
Good.
and if you have any questions, let us know, comment, or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, thank you. And enjoy. And today, if you can do something that you love to do, that would be great.
Wonderful.
Even if it's maybe it's getting some flowers or doing some dancing, or whatever it is that you love to do, that you feel you can connect with the beauty and your values of what you find beautiful and what you love.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.